walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 No time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. Whether you are live on Facebook, live on YouTube, or if you're watching us on Roku TV, thanks to the fine people over at Northeast Sports Productions. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is the very stylish and very color-coordinated Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing great on a feel-good Thursday. You know what? Every now and then your better half goes through your closet and goes, you have all these things and you never wear them. You've had them forever. So then rather than get into an argument and prove her right, I just chose to wear something that I don't normally wear. So this is actually a Sixer for my Sixer fans out there. It's a Sixer jersey. I collect a lot of memorabilia from all kinds of teams, but rather than try to explain to her that I just like to have them and not wear them, I just decided to wear it.
Some arguments are better left not had.
100%.
Mo, man, you know, sometimes life is complicated and other times life is not complicated. And sometimes business, whether we're talking about real estate or we're talking about a paper company or whether we're talking about a sports franchise, sometimes business is just as simple as the following question. And Vince McMahon would say this all the time. Are you going to make me money? And if you're going to make me money, then we can do business. And we've talked about it, and we've talked about different angles, and we've talked about different social justice scenarios. But at the end of the day, Mo, the one thing that we have stayed consistent with is the fact that you and I have both felt Caitlin Clark was going to make the WNBA money.
Yes.
And because we felt Caitlin Clark, and it's not just because we felt it, but we weren't the only ones to feel it. Nike felt that Caitlin Clark was going to make money. So what did they do? They went out and they gave her a 5-figure shoe deal, or seven-figure shoe deal. The WNBA felt that Caitlin Clark was going to make them money, Mo. So what did they do? They went and approached ESPN Plus and Disney Plus and other various TV packages. And guess what? Their games are going to be on those platforms this season. And let's be honest, they weren't going to be if Caitlin Clark wasn't there. The Indiana Fever felt like Caitlin Clark was going to make them money.
Did.
So not only did they draft Caitlin Clark, but after they drafted her, they negotiated new local TV deals. And there are platforms that are going to be hosting and playing and broadcasting every single Fever game this season, Mo. Something that 100% was not going to happen if Caitlin Clark was not on that team. And then, of course, we have to talk about the home opener. Caitlin Clark is going to open with the team on Tuesday. Okay. Let me verify. Is it even their home opener? I don't think it is. I think they're on the road. Yeah, against. They're opening on the road, Mo. So let's take that into consideration as well. Caitlin Clark is opening on the road on Tuesday against the Connecticut Sun. They are playing at the Mohegan Sun Arena. Now, I want you to remember something. Coming into last season, okay? Into last season, the average WNBA ticket price was $18. All right. Over the course of last season, the average ticket price for the Connecticut Sun, which is where she is playing at on Tuesday when she makes her WNBA debut, was just under $45. So if you're looking at the Sun, you're saying, well, they were doing okay for themselves, Mo, because the average league price was $18, and they were a little more than double the average league price. So props to them. They were doing something right. Mo, the average ticket price for that game right now is $300.
Right.
$300. If you want, Mo, you can get a really crappy nosebleed seat right now because that's all that's left. If you go and try to buy a ticket to that game right now, you can sit way up top for about $140. And floor tickets for this game, Mo, went for over $1,000.
Oh, I believe it.
Ticket. This is a WNBA game. Floor seats went for over $1,000 a ticket. This is the same league that averaged $18 a ticket on average across all their teams last season. This is the same team in the Connecticut Sun that at home last year, at home, where people should want to come and see them, the average ticket price was $45. And Mo, you're going to tell me she's not worth it? You're going to tell me that she doesn't move the needle? You're going to tell me she's not worth a shoe deal? You're going to sit here and tell me, why doesn't AJ Wilson and the WNBA have this or that? You're going to sit here and tell me, why aren't we talking more about the two women that went to Chicago? This is why, Mo. And you can sit here and you can tell me until you're blue in the face. Well, Chris, how about we talk about why she's so popular? Who cares? Why were silly bands so popular, Mo?
Right.
They were
Right.
rubber bands. But
Right.
for about 6 months, they were the most popular toy in this damn country.
They were.
Why were Furbies so popular? Why were Tamagotchis so popular? Why was the Easy Bake Oven so popular, Mo? Because sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle and you ride the wave and you get every penny out of it that you can, because that's what marketing and business is. And Caitlin Clark has caught lightning in a bottle because she is tremendously talented. And you can sit here and you can make it a race thing all you want, and you can say it's the color of her skin, and you say it, Mo, because you know what? I'll show you every other white WNBA player before her, and I will ask you why they didn't do the same thing. Because if it's just a race thing, it's because she's white, then how come all the other white players that have gone into the WNBA haven't got the same attention that she has gotten? Oh, because they're not as talented. Got it. Oh, because they weren't selling out tickets in middle of nowhere, Iowa for the better part of the last 3.5 years. What the hell is there in Iowa? I don't know. But I'll tell you what people were doing in Iowa. They were paying money to go see Caitlin Clark play college basketball for a college basketball program that, by the way, wasn't that special before she got there. So sometimes, Mo, it is just that simple. Can you make me money? And if the answer is yes, everyone's going to jump on board because they want to make money. And she, again, hasn't played a single game, a single minute in a regulation WNBA game. And look at what she did for the draft numbers. Highest rated anything WNBA TV product in almost 25 years. Took the draft itself and quadrupled their highest rating ever for a WNBA draft. And look at what she is doing for her first game on the road in somebody else's house. She is taking their average ticket sales from last year and putting a 6 multiplier on it. And that's the away game, Mo. I can't even imagine what the first home game is going to look like for her. Because you thought this number was impressive? Go try to get a ticket to the first home Fever game, and let's see what those numbers look like. Because if she's doing this on the road, she's going to do this 2 or 3-fold at home.
Oh, you can book that. I can imagine the home games. Downtown Indianapolis is going to be insane. Fortunately for me, I live in the suburbs, so I'm good. But yeah, look, you always talk about this. She moves the needle. She moves the needle. And the fact that she makes money for the league, it's a good thing for not just the league, but it's a good thing for the other players.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw an article the other day where the WNBA now they are going to they're getting a contract where they're going to do now private flights now. Yep. Something they hadn't ever done before. They're stepping their game up, and I'm not saying she's directly linked to that, but I have to believe that she impacted that in some kind of way. So she's already benefited other players paying it forward. I just think, like you said, every now and then an athlete comes around, right place, right time, with the right style of play, the right amount of talent, charisma, whatever you want to call it, and it just all clicks. She's that person for the WNBA. I don't want to say she's their savior, but she is the player that can take them to a whole completely different level when it comes to attendance, when it comes to viewership on TV, when it comes to sponsors and all the like. So for the people that are out there that are hating on her, I don't understand that, because she's already uplifted her league without playing a single game yet.
And I'm sorry, you can't name another player in WNBA history that before they've played a single game, they have done this much for the league. For the league. I'm sure there's other WNBA players that have moved the needle in their city, that have moved the needle in their state, right? But you look at it, and this is the impact she's had on the entire league before she's played a single game. Like you just said, Mo, sometimes you get these players and it's the right combination of talent, charisma, personality. It all just comes together. Look at what Tiger did for golf. Tiger came out of nowhere and he changed golf forever. And while Tiger was Tiger, the getting was good in golf for everybody. Because you can say all you want, well, and you know, you witnessed this, Mo. The old guard didn't want Tiger there. The old guard had nothing to do with Tiger Woods. And I'll tell you what, a lot of it had to do with the color of his skin. And they didn't want anything to do with Tiger Woods in their sport. Well, Tiger said, screw you. And he kicked down that door and he did what he did. And you know who benefited, Mo? Every single golfer who golfed with Tiger Woods. Because even if you weren't winning tournaments, because Tiger was winning them, wherever you were finishing, you were making more money than you would have made if Tiger wasn't there.
Right.
Tiger raised all those pots. Tiger got all those ratings. Tiger benefited everyone who golfed with Tiger because the pots were bigger. The TV exposure was broader. Everybody benefited who played golf during Tiger's peak because there was just more eyes on the sport. There was more exposure on the sport. There was more money in the sport. So you can sit here and you could have hated losing to Tiger every week. You could have hated that all the focus was on Tiger, but your pockets felt a little heavier, Mo. Pockets 100%. Were a little heavier back then.
They were. And on the offhand chance you beat Tiger Woods, like a Phil Mickelson, then he kind of uplifted you when you beat him.
Yep.
Phil got endorsements. Phil got more exposure than he ever would have gotten otherwise. You and I just watched Tiger play in a tournament, and we were like totally engaged, and neither one of us know next to nothing about golf.
And we both knew he wasn't going to win.
We knew that, and he still had us.
That moves the needle. That
100%.
Says something right there. And Mo, I'm going to watch my first WNBA game on Tuesday. I'm there. I don't watch the WNBA.
It's not my first, but I've been a casual watcher of the league. I've enjoyed the league, but she's kind of like Tiger. She's bringing me in, and I don't lower the bar for her, but I don't need her to be LeBron James in his first season in the league. But if she's anywhere near what the expectations are, she's only going to elevate the league even more. So she doesn't have to score 30 points a game plus game or points a game like she did at Iowa. But what if she averages 18 points a game and 8 assists and helps her team to a very good record? I think that would be proof to you that she's more than worth it, right? That's her rookie campaign. And mind you, it's her rookie campaign, Chris, where she, of course, by default, she's going to be the target of a lot of other WNBA players.
For sure. Mo, let's pivot to the NFL here. So there's some franchises in the NFL that you look at and everything just hits a little different, right? You know, if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and a joke comes out of the front office, you laugh at it, right? Because it's like the Chiefs are a well-ran franchise. If they start joking about things, you're like, those guys doing those funny things up there in the front office. And then you have franchises where we don't really like jokes or misdirections coming out of the front office. We just like to know what's going on because there's been such a history of nonsense going on that we give you no leeway when it comes to potential shenanigans. And when we hear about shenanigans, we tend to believe there were shenanigans as opposed to it was a joke. And that's what's happening right now with the Las Vegas Raiders. The rumor and innuendo is that the Las Vegas Raiders made their draft pick in the first round of the draft via a coin flip. Now, where did this rumor and innuendo come from, you ask? Because there's only so many people in that room, and there's only so many people that would know what took place. Well, the rumor and innuendo, Mo, is coming from somebody who was in the room. The head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders reached out to the player they did not draft in the first round to wish him luck with the Detroit Lions and to say it came down to a coin toss between you and the player we did take, which was Brock Bowers, the tight end. Now, the new Detroit Lion, during his media rounds, was telling this story. So, of course, it goes back to the Raiders and their general manager, who downplays it and says, listen, there was no coin toss. It was a consensus pick. Everybody was on board for the pick that we made. That's the guy that we wanted. That's the guy we are all comfortable with. Mo, that's great. That's all fun and games. But let's look at this on the surface. Why would the head coach reach out to a player that they did not draft and say, hey, it came down to a coin toss between you and the guy we took? Just wanted to let you know. Mo, let's say there wasn't a coin toss. Let's say there actually wasn't. The only reason a head coach would reach out to a player they didn't draft and make it seem like it was literally 50-50 at the finish line would be if the head coach wanted that player.
100%.
And the head coach had communicated or through back channels had communicated to that player that they were going to be the one, that they were wanted, that they were high up on the head coach's want list. That would be unless there really was a coin toss, Mo, the only other reason the head coach would reach out to a player that they didn't draft and explain to them that it was so close that it could have been a coin toss. If it wasn't actually a coin toss, would have been if the head coach wanted that player, which means, Mo, it wasn't a consensus pick. It wasn't yeses across the board for the tight end. There was at least one guy in the room that wanted the other guy, and that's why he's going and talking to the other guy, saying things like it was a coin toss. So, Mo, I don't know. I would like to believe they weren't actually flipping quarters in the war room to decide who they were going to pick. But I look at the Raiders and I look at the way this franchise was ran, and there's only two things I'm walking away here thinking. They really did flip a damn coin to decide who they were taking, or it wasn't really a consensus pick, and the head coach didn't want the person they drafted. He wanted the other guy, which is why he's going and talking to the other guy after the draft.
I feel like Mark Davis was in the room, and Mark Davis was the one that decided, well, I want the tight end. And they were like, well, and Antonio Pierce said, well, I want this guy. This is the guy. I'm telling you right now. And Mark Davis said, we'll leave it up to chance.
And he pulled out his double-headed coin.
Right. You know he cheated. You know he cheated. You know he did. Anybody with a haircut like that is dishonest.
And you know he was like, Coach, you call it. And he called tails, and he goes, if it's heads, it's mine. Or if he called it the other way,
it's mine. Right.
Either way, he was winning that coin toss.
Right. Yeah, the Raiders over the last decade or so, he's not his father.
No.
And Al Davis has had his share of controversy, but Al Davis, he built a winner. He knew how to win. He would go out and get his guys. Mark Davis is trying very much to be like his father. He's got some work to do. I would say this. If you don't know the game as well as your dad, then you hire people around you who know the game, who will talk to you and go, this is the guy that we need, sir. This is who we should go out and get. And then you let those very smart football people make those decisions. It's that simple. But nothing simple with the Las Vegas Raiders. So when I heard the story, I actually heard it as well. I thought, Antonio Pierce strikes me as a stand-up guy. He does. If he says it came down to a coin toss, then that's what happened. and he reached out to the guy that he wanted and said, "Man, I got to tell you, he goes, I know we talked, and I know what I said, but these fools, it came down to a coin toss. That was out of my control. I had no control over that. I am so sorry."
And what a weird spot he's put in, right? Because again, why would he reach out? Why would he reach out? That doesn't happen.
He didn't have to, right?
Head coaches don't reach out to players they didn't draft to tell them why they didn't draft. Like, come on now.
Right.
And it's not like the kid wasn't drafted. Like, it's not like we told you were coming to us and then you didn't get drafted at all.
Right.
No, he got drafted. He did just fine for himself.
And so when the PR people go, well, it was a consensus pick. No, it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. It was not. And I'll say this. If at some point somebody reaches out to Antonio Pierce, he's not going to say it was a consensus pick. Like I said, he's a stand-up guy. He's going to go, we're going to go with Brock Bowers. He's a really good football player, which I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, because when I think of need, when you look at the Las Vegas Raiders, I wouldn't have went tight end.
Yeah.
I don't care how good a tight end he is. I think they need other positions that move the needle. They needed help at, and they went with tight end. Like, you're not even sure about your quarterback situation, and you go to tight end. I don't get it.
It's because Mark Davis was in the room.
That's right.
Well, we talked yesterday on the show, and we were joking around a little bit, and we asked the question: who are the Pacers playing? Who are they playing tonight? Are they playing the Knicks, or are they playing the Knicks and the officials? And well, if you ask Pacer fans this morning, Mo, they would tell you that they're playing the Knicks and the officials. The Knicks go up 2-0 last night, not without controversy, not without questions, not without the Pacers sending video into the league, just saying, can we just get a fair shake? Can we just get one playoff game that we feel is properly officiated and doesn't seem to get bundled late in the game? Mo, you saw it. Where do you stand on the officiating last night?
Were there some blown calls? Yeah, look, he has a right to, his team is down 2-0. So one, you could be upset starting with the call in game one where they said he kicked it, where clearly he didn't kick it, but it's not reviewable. You have every right to be upset. But late in that game, they called a double dribble on Knicks center Isaiah Hartenstein, which he didn't double dribble. The replay clearly said that. But like the kick play, it isn't reviewable. So what made him lose his mind was the referees got together and said, no, we're going to wave it off. He didn't. You can't do that. If that mechanism is in place, then you would have done the same thing about the kickball thing. And I don't blame Rick Carlisle. I don't understand that. How'd you all go, you know what? It never happened. The whistle never. You can't do, well, I can't say you can't do that because they did it. But I'm so eager to read with the crazy 2-minute report, which is one of the biggest jokes in sport, the 2-minute report, because all it does is tell you like we messed up on a whole bunch of things, but we just want to let everybody know we're not hiding it. That doesn't.
It's like going to confessional,
right?
Whatever you say here, you're good.
Right, but that doesn't make the Pacers feel any better. They're down 2-0. Look, if you're a Sixer fan, you probably felt that sting too. Now, look, do I think that the Knicks outplayed the Sixers in the end overall? Yes, but there was some horrible calls that went against Philly. And Rick Carlisle's not lying. There's a point in the game where Halliburton is dribbled down the court, and Josh Hart is behind him, and he is blatantly pushing him in the back. And there's no call. They just keep playing on. And I'm like, and look, so when he goes to the podium and goes, now I thought he overstepped a little bit, Chris, because he basically implied that small market teams need a fair shake. Like when you say that, then you're throwing into doubt the integrity of the game itself. If you want to tell me the officiating crew did a subpar job and they missed some calls, I'm there. But when you imply, well, they want the Knicks to go to the finals because we're a small market team, and who cares about the Pacers? I'm not going to go there. But he has every right to be upset. You heard what he said. He goes, "We found 39 calls that went against our." And he said, and we're gonna send them to the league, and we're gonna send them to the Knicks so they can go ahead. I mean, he was heated, man. And he had every right to be hot. But I'm not there with him when you imply that it's some kind of conspiracy. I'm not doing that. Like, if you can prove it, I'm all ears. But if you just want to say it because you're upset in the moment, and he's going to get a fine. He's going to get a hefty fine.
He's going to get a big one.
Yeah, for implying that. But it's a very physical series. Look, TJ McConnell, who did a really great job last night guarding Brunson when he guarded him, and he was great on offense. But there were times when TJ McConnell was basically karate chopping Brunson, and they didn't call any fouls. So I'm sure the Knicks are going to show some stuff too on film. PJ McConnell, he was guarding him in a way that you can't guard him like that in this era. You can't body somebody up when they have the ball and they're moving. You can't get into he basically was hand checking, and you can't do any of those things. We're not supposed to. So they were letting a lot of stuff go. They're losing this series, Chris, because Josh Hart is averaging 21 points a game, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists. DiVincenzo is averaging 26 points a game. That's why you're losing two guys who combined in the regular season, I believe they averaged 23 points total. They're averaging an additional 25 points on top of that in this series. That's why you're losing. Brunson could get 40 and it wouldn't kill you so long as two guys who are basically role players aren't playing like at all-star levels. That's why you're losing this series, not because of the referees.
I think it just hurts a little bit more, Mo, when you go into the series as underdogs and you go into the series basically. I mean, you saw the headlines. It's a bye series for the Knicks. The Knicks were heavily favored. No one really gave the Pacers a chance. You come out in game one, you're leading after 3 quarters. You're looking like you're going to win the game. It ends the way it did. You got that bad taste in your mouth. You go into game 2. You're competitive in game 2. You're in it towards the end again. And again, you have this moment where you're just like with the officials, what is going on? And you're almost sitting there, like you said, in disbelief, because where was this last night? Where was this little get-together and meeting of the minds for the unreviewable calls, which apparently you can review without the monitor? You can just review based on what you remember, what you think you just saw. Right. So you can do that tonight, but you couldn't do that last night. So I got screwed last night because you couldn't review it. I got screwed this night because you couldn't review it, but yet you still did review it. Like, what's happening? And you get caught up in it. And you stop looking at the facts of like, well, we're letting 2 of their role players absolutely slaughter us. Chris is over here saying playoff Josh, and he's actually turning into playoff Josh. Like,
is he not?
Why can't we stop that guy?
Chris, Josh Hart in the regular season averaged 9 points a game, shot 43% from the field, 31% from three. In the playoffs, at least in this series, 60% from the field and over 50% from three. And think about his numbers: 21, 14, and 7. Hell, he's putting up numbers like he's the Joker.
Yeah.
How are you allowed? I don't have a problem with Rick Carlisle being upset with the officiating. I don't. But being upset with some of your coaching choices. TJ McConnell was sensational in the second half. He actually outplayed Halliburton. He actually was the only guy I saw that could actually stay in front of Brunson and compete with him. And he gave you 12 assists off the bench. And late in the game, when you needed to get stops, you took him out, put in Andrew Nembhard, who's a good player. But that is the matchup that Brunson looks at and goes barbecue chicken, and he just eats Nembhard alive. That's a coaching decision. That's on you. Halliburton was the best player in the game for the first half, Chris. And then in the second half, he does something that he actually does a lot. He disappears. When you need him the most, your very best player can't go on these 6 and 8 minute disappear. He does it far too often. In a game where he finished with like 28 points, it should have been a game where he had close to 40. And that's the problem.
And to Halliburton's credit, when he took the podium last night, Mo, the first thing he said was, it's not the official's fault. He got it out of the way right quick because he knows. He knows how he played in spurts in that game. He knows at the end of the day, these things are going to happen, and sometimes they're going to go their way. And he knows that it's the players on the court that need to step up, especially if you were on the Pacers side of the ball. Tonight, we got Celtics-Cavs Game 2. Mo, do you expect much of the same as Game 1?
I do. But as a fan of the game, Chris, I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping we get a really terrific playoff game. I have no dog in this fight, so I don't care who wins. But what I want is I want a great competitive game. So I'm hoping I'm wrong.
And then we got Game 2 for the Thunder and the Mavs. Mavs might be a little more rested. They look tired in the second and fourth quarter of that Game 1. They played great in quarters 1 and 3. Do you think the Mavs can even it up, or are we going to see OKC go up 2-0?
Honestly, I expect the Mavs to even it up. OKC didn't really play great. They just played better than Dallas, and they got like 30 points off the bench from two guys who average combined like 10 points a game. So between Wiggins and the other Williams, that's what's the difference. They picked them up. Dallas was a tired and worn out team. Look, I still think the Thunder are a deeper, more talented team, but give me the best version of Luka, the best version of Kyrie, and I think that completely changes the series. And I expect you're going to get a much better version of both of those guys tonight.
Mo, let's talk about Joker. Joker won the MVP. He is a 3-time MVP now. There was a heated back and forth between the TNT crew.
Oh, yeah.
Between Shaq and Charles Barkley. Shaquille O'Neal was adamant that Joker had a great season, but he should not have been named MVP. He was adamant that it was stolen from SGA. And then even Barkley was a little upset that other people didn't get the votes. He had no issue with Joker winning it, but he thought that the fact that there was such a disparity between the votes and that he was looking at guys like, where are Brunson's votes? Where are SGA's votes? Why aren't more people getting the recognition and getting the votes? I personally don't care about it. Does it really matter? Does it really matter if someone wins it by 40 votes or 30? Like, at the end of the day, the person who's going to win it is the person who's going to win it, right? And you're going in there, and no one's going in there saying, I know that Joker's going to win it. Let me throw my vote on SGA so he gets a couple. No one's thinking that way. They're going in there thinking, who do I think deserves to win it? And that's how you should vote, Mo. You should go in there and vote for the person that you think deserves to win it or you want to win it. You shouldn't be thinking about, well, I hope that the guy that finishes second gets double-digit votes so that he feels better about it. He's not going to feel better about himself. He didn't win. So I don't think there's a consolation prize when it comes to MVP. But, Mo, should Joker have won? Should he have won? Or was SGA robbed, like Shaq said?
SGA had a terrific season. And for the record, the Thunder did win the division, but when you look at their records, Denver and Oklahoma City have identical records. They just won the tiebreaker. I think SGA averaged 30 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 50% from the field. He had a terrific season. But Shaq was making the argument that SGA should have won when you look at the way what he does across the board in terms of stuff in the stats. And I was like, that's a horrible argument to make, because Joker's going to give you 27 points a game, 14 rebounds, and just under 10 assists a game. He stuffs stats even better. I think SGA is terrific. I don't think he should have beaten Joker out for MVP. I don't. I have no problem with Joker winning the MVP. And maybe the disappointment for some people is that the race wasn't as close as they thought it was. But that was social media. That was people chirping. Maybe SGA's become a more popular player than Joker, right? And maybe his game is more aesthetically pleasing. I think Joker's the best player in basketball, and I think this is one of those situations where they're the defending champions. They had a great regular season. I don't see where, if you're going to beat the champ, you have to out and out beat the champ. I think SG had a terrific season. I don't think he had a better season than Joker. And the argument that Barkley had about, well, how come Anthony Edwards only had X amount of votes in 5th place or what? Look, Anthony Edwards had a really good regular season, and the Timberwolves were terrific defensively. But his numbers, they didn't blow anybody away. If you go by numbers and look at numbers, well, his numbers were behind about 5 or 6 people, numbers-wise. He's been much better than that, obviously, in the postseason where it matters, right? But this is a regular season award. During the course of the breadth of the regular season, Nikola Jokic is the best player in basketball. He is. And maybe in the bigger picture right now, where we at in the playoffs, Anthony Edwards is saying, you were the best player in basketball in the regular season. So we'll see. But I think they got it right. I know that somebody said this to me the other day. They said, well, if Joker and them get put out by the Wolves, he won't win another MVP for a long time. And I go, that's possible. That's very possible, because that's what happened to Giannis. When Jimmy Buckets knocked him out two out of 3 times, I was like, Giannis won back-to-back. He ain't going to win no more MVPs no time soon. And that's a real thing. You can get what they call it, MVP fatigue. It can be. It can happen. But do you disagree? Do you not think Joker should have got it, or did you have somebody else in mind?
No, Joker easily should have got it. He was one of the most dominant players throughout the breadth of the season, and he did it at a more consistent rate than these other people did. And I look at someone like SGA, who had a great season, and I think he became like the JJ McCarthy. He became really trendy as the season went on. He became like the hip guy to talk about, because his game is a little more flashy and his game is a little more pleasing to the eye than Joker's game is. And you look at someone like Ant, and you look at what the Wolves did. People thought they were going to fall off throughout the season. They didn't. So the longer they stuck around, by default, you're looking at them up top and you're like, well, who is their best player? Oh, it's Ant. Oh, well, he should be getting some love. And then he became kind of a trendy talking point. But while all this is going on, Joker's doing his thing. And Joker's putting up MVP-like numbers. So, yeah, you can look at the noise around him. But at the end of the day, he was the MVP of the league. And Mo, as a 3-time MVP, I think it's fair. We got a little bit of a ways to go here. But I think it's fair to start the conversation. Where do you think he's going to finish all time? Where is he going to finish in that conversation? Because you look across the landscape of the NBA, it's not filled with a ton of 3-time MVPs.
It is not.
So he's already got 3. I get what you're saying. If he loses to Minnesota, he's definitely not winning it next year, because you're not going to name a 4-time MVP who's got knocked out in round 2 of the playoffs.
Right.
But it's not out of reality that he doesn't win one more 2 or 3 years down the road.
That I believe, yes.
So let's say he ends with 4. He's a 4-time MVP. He's a 2-time NBA champion. Let's say he gets another ring in there. Where is he in that all-time conversation at that point?
Man, I don't know. Because I think if he stopped playing right now, if his career ended today, and let's hope that doesn't happen. But he chose to walk away today, I'm not sure that he's not already top 15 or top 12. But if he does what you said, add another MVP, add another championship, so then he's in a really rare group, a guy who has multiple MVPs, multiple championships, and I'm assuming multiple final MVPs. I don't want people to kill me early in the morning, but I think you're gonna have to drop him into that top 10. You're gonna have to move out somebody that's from the older guard because he's gonna be as accomplished as some of those guys. I'm just saying, and I get why, like, you do know the reason why Shaq was actually angry last night, right? That wasn't about SGA.
That was about Shaq.
Shaq's still mad about Steve Nash beating him out for the MVP. He can't let it go. He can't let it go. He's still salty about that. He can't let it go. That's what that's about. But yeah, I really think that when I look at what Steph has done, he's got himself into the top 10. But Steph's done it because he literally, you pointed this out to me, he's changed the game of basketball. He was going to get in there. Joker, I don't know if he's changed the game of basketball, but just as an individual talent and his accomplishments, if he does what you project, I think he's going to be a top 10 player. I do.
Then we got the other side of it, which is the defensive player of the year, and Rudy Gobert wins his 4th defensive player of the year award. He is only the 3rd player in NBA history to have at least 4 defensive player of the years. There is a very split crowd out there when it comes to Rudy. You either love Rudy in his game or you hate Rudy in his game. But Mo, what you can't do is take away the fact that he is a 4-time defensive player of the year award winner. Is Rudy Gobert a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, so somebody put this question to me and I was like, look, I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He is. Anybody that's won the defensive player of the year most of them, they're in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, I think he's also been like a 3-time All-Star. Yep. And you know how this works. He's an international player, so what they do is they'll talk about everything he's done overseas, right? Because remember, it's not the professional basketball Hall of Fame, it's just the basketball Hall of Fame. So yes, get used to it, everybody out there listening. Rudy Gobert is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, we could do a whole show on how I feel about stuff like that, but
that's a different topic.
But that's a different show. But I'm one of those people, I don't dislike Rudy Gobert's game, because if you tell me he's the best rim protector in basketball, I'm going to agree with you 100%. He's one of the elite rebounders in basketball, and he stays in his lane even on offense. He knows what he is and what he isn't. I get that. And if the Timberwolves should win a championship, I think that also elevates Rudy Gobert. Not just, we know Ant's their best player, but it will elevate his contributions as well. And that will only amplify the fact that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I was just one of those people, and I'm still there, that they gave up 4 number 1s for that guy. And you don't get like I know we were having a discussion the other day about what was Embiid's value. And I was like, even with his injury history, if Rudy can get 4, he can get at least 4, maybe more, because he's like 4 years younger than him and he's levels better than him. So I'm just saying, value wise, I think there's a lot of teams out there, even with his injury history, that would value what Embiid can do for them. So, but to get back to Gobert, yeah, Chris, I think he's a Hall of Famer, and people should get used to saying that. Rudy Gobert, Hall of Famer.
We talked last week about Pat Bev and Pat Bev doing Pat Bev things. Well, now the police are looking into Pat Bev and his Pat Bev things.
Wow.
An investigation has officially been opened for Pat Bev's actions on the sidelines in that game where he chucked a ball at fans, not once, but twice. We said this, Mo. We said that someone was going to have a sore neck. We said that someone was going to, be a little sore, a little need a little doctor's visit or something. And now the police are involved, and they are investigating whether or not there was an assault that took place.
Wow.
And Mo, I'm okay with it. I'm sorry. You are a grown man. I am sure things were said to you. I am sure it did not make you happy, but you chose to launch a ball And it's not like he launched it into the stands. He launched it one row over. You are literally talking about what he was sitting one row up, 5 or 6 chairs to the left. That is where he launched this ball from. So you're talking a matter of what, 15 feet? If that. So not once, but twice. So say what you will. I know there's a lot of Pat Bev fans out there. I know there's a lot of pro player people out there who are like, these fans are getting out of pocket. And I agree, they're getting out of pocket. It doesn't give you the right as a player to start hurling basketballs from a 15-foot distance at people's heads, which is what he did not once, but twice. So I don't think anything's going to come of it from a legal standpoint. I think they're looking into it because a report was made, and they have to make sure they do their due diligence and look into it. But I do think that the Pat Bev estate is going to be paying out some money in civil court, because I'm pretty sure it's going to at least go there.
Well, Chris, first of all, anybody that has a family doctor.
That's right.
I'm just being honest. Your family doctor, and I'm not killing doctors, but your family doctor will pretty much write a script for whatever you need. He's your family doctor.
Yep.
If you go in there like, my neck isn't quite what it was, I mean, the ball bounced off him that hit me, and I've got this strain, and and that's going to be documented in the civil suit. She can't quite turn left anymore.
Range of motion down 40%.
Right, compromised. She's actually had to go to several specialists, and
right.
I'm just saying, Pat Bev's about to get hit in the pockets.
So hey, if it was worth it, it was worth it. I don't think he's going to jail for this, guys.
No,
but his pocketbook's can get a little bit lighter. Mo, let's move on to this. We love talking about. He's like our favorite person to talk about here. Mizuhara. Let's talk a little Mizuhara this morning. My guy, your guy, our guy. He pled guilty. I have never seen a federal investigation move this quickly. He has already pled guilty. His plea has already been accepted, and now he is awaiting sentencing. Man, did this investigation fly, Mo. Holy cow. From beginning to sentencing, we have flown through this thing. He took a plea deal. He pled guilty to 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count, I believe, of illegal wiretapping or something along those lines. What he did not plead guilty to was theft. He only took $17 million, no big deal. But when he took that $17 million, he was impersonating Shohei Ohtani. So that's where the bank fraud comes into play. Oh, it was tax evasion. He pled it because he didn't file proper taxes for the illegal money he was taking in. Like, that government, let me tell you, we know you stole it, but you should have reported it so we can get our cut.
Right. That's what they're upset about. Like, we didn't get our money.
So he's facing up to 30 years on the bank fraud. He's facing up to 3 years on the tax issue. So he's facing a maximum of 33 years in federal prison when this is all said and done. And Mo, I'm not saying that being an interpreter is easy, but I think it's a fair statement to say this guy had his life set. He was good to go for the next 10 years with Shohei Ohtani. He was going to make all the money that he probably needed to make, that when Shohei's baseball career was over, he could have rode off into the sunset and just done whatever he wanted to do for the rest of his life. And that guy threw all that away, and he's looking at 33 years in federal prison.
And just think about all the connections and access he would have had being Shohei's interpreter at all the events he would go to and the interviews and things of that nature, that even if his service had ended with Shohei, somebody would pick that up, because there's always foreign players coming over, and he could have picked up another client. I'm just saying that he threw all that away because he was a degenerative gambler. That's insane. And I'm with you. I have never, And I'm not saying I'm some kind of like legal eagle, seeing a federal investigation go this fast, reach this quick a conclusion. I mean, next week you're going to show the guy in his and he's going to be wearing his prison orange. And next week, just that fast, he's going to be in prison orange. That's crazy. I've never seen it happen that quick. Matter of fact, in this current country, if only all federal investigations went that fast.
Right from start to we're on the verge of sentencing.
Yeah, the next step is get fitted for his outfit.
Right. Mo, we got Zay Jones. Zay Jones is making his rounds around the league right now. He is talking to the Dallas Cowboys. He is talking to the Kansas City Chiefs. He is talking to the Tennessee Titans, and he is talking to the Arizona Cardinals. He was with the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. He's a quality receiver. Obviously, he's not a 1, but I think in the right situation, he could be an average 2, and he could definitely be a quality 3. Yeah. So, Mo, when you're hearing Chiefs and Cowboys and Titans and Cardinals, where do you think is the best fit for Zay Jones? Because in a wide receiver market that was thin, let's be honest, the draft was filled with them, but the actual free agent market for receivers was mighty, mighty thin. Zay Jones is the best guy left out there. So if you're looking at your team right now and you're heading into getting ready for camp and all that, and you're still thin at wide receiver, Zay Jones, he played his cards right, Mo. He has got a lot of interest from a lot of teams that are like, we need some depth at wide receiver. Here he is.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Cincinnati wasn't one of those teams too, right?
Yeah, fair point. They just lost Tyler Boyd.
Right, they just lost Boyd. Like you could use another guy in the slot, and I think Zay Jones would fill that role to perfection for them. But with the teams that are giving him the most attention, maybe Dallas offers him the most money. I'm not sure, but in terms of the role that he could have with the team, I would go to Patrick Mahomes because he spreads the wealth everywhere. And if on that team with the opportunities that he's going to get because of the attention that Kelsey gets, I think Zay Jones will have a very productive year.
Yeah, Jones. I mean, he would probably be the 4th target on that team because they have Hollywood Brown now.
Right.
They got Rice. They got Kelsey. So he's looking at the 4th option on that team. I'm surprised Buffalo's not interested, to be honest with you. Buffalo loses Diggs.
That's a good point.
They signed that one receiver that was with Washington, who I think is a 2 more than a 1. I don't think Jones is a 1, but you got to throw the ball to somebody up there in Buffalo. So someone's going to become a de facto 1 because they don't really have a true 1 on their team. So I'm surprised Buffalo isn't giving a look. I'm like you. I'm surprised Cincinnati isn't giving a little bit of a look since they lost Tyler Boyd. Tennessee, I saw a bunch of things yesterday from Titans fans just like really hyped about their receiving core. Mo, I don't see it. I just don't. You're okay. Yeah, if you're looking at name value, there was a point where you could argue DeAndre Hopkins was a top 5 receiver in this league. I'll give you that. There was a point where you were looking at Calvin Ridley and you were saying he is on his way to being a top 5, top 10 receiver in this league. I'll give you that. And there was a point where Tyler Boyd was the number 1 receiver in Cincinnati. I'll give you that. But this is 2024. DeAndre Hopkins is not the same DeAndre Hopkins he was 2 or 3 seasons ago. He is a slant guy. He is a possession guy. He is not a stretch the field explosive player in this league. Now, he might be one of the best slant guys and one of the best hands guys in the NFL, but that's what he is. Then you look at Calvin Ridley. There's a reason he's not with Jacksonville anymore. He couldn't catch the damn football with them. There's a reason that, because it's not like Jacksonville had a plethora of top talent wide receivers, and they're like, we got to cut bait with one, Calvin. Sorry, it's got to be you. No, they wanted Calvin Ridley to be what we thought he was going to be in Atlanta before all those things went down, and it just didn't end up being that way in Jacksonville, so they had to move on. That's why he is where he is now. And then you look at Tyler Boyd, and he was a number 1 on a bad Cincinnati Bengals team. I think he is an average number 2 and a great number 3, but I don't think you have a number 1 wide receiver out of the 3 of them.
And I'm wondering, because you have to factor in also, obviously, your young quarterback. And DeAndre Hopkins, like you said, he's more of a chain mover. So at the end of the day, if I go yards per catch, my guess is D Hop's going to average about 12, 13 yards a catch. His greatest value will be moving the chains or around the goal line because he can still get up and attack the football, 50-50 balls of that nature. But I don't think Will Levis is great at those kind of throws. His strength is he's got a great arm and he can move the ball down the field. So who's the guy on that team that can take the top off the defense? That can really make you.
It's Ridley.
He's the fastest guy. He is the fastest guy, but he's also Butterfinger. So yeah. I don't. Is it going to matter? And is Levis going to be what they think he's going to be? Because you could have this veteran receiving core, but if the quarterback can't recognize that the safeties are falling off or they're coming down, if he can't recognize those kind of different changes and coverages, I think Will Levis is going to have one of those years where he's going to be floating around 20 plus picks. And I don't want to say that they don't have a solid receiving core. I just don't think they're an explosive receiving core. Remember, these are all older, established guys. What do older, established receivers do? First thing they do after every play, hey, I was open. Hey, me over here. Hopkins is going to do it. Tyler Boyd's going to do it. Ridley's going to be like, stop throwing it to him. Look at me. Like, how is that going to work? I mean, poor Will Levis, he's going to catch hell in the huddle. So I get the optimism if you're a Titans fan, but when you have to actually put that product on the field, I don't know if it's going to work as well as you'd like it to.
And I would argue that if you look at D-Hop and where he is in his career and Boyd where he's been the past 2 seasons, they play the same exact position. D-Hop plays at a much more elite level. So now you're going to push Boyd to what, the 2? And he's going to be your 2 on the outside. He isn't really an outside guy.
Right.
Which means he's going to run more of the intermediate stuff, which he can do, obviously. Which means that Ridley has to be your true number 1. And sure, he's got the speed to take it off the top, but he hasn't got the hands. And he hasn't had the hands for the past season and a half. So unless something drastically changes over there in Tennessee, I think you have an average collection of receivers. I don't think you're hurting for receivers. I think you're hurting for a number 1. And let's not forget, you got the kid Burks, who you just drafted last season or the season prior.
And now he's your 4th receiver?
And he's the 4?
Wow.
So what are you doing to his growth? Because you brought in all these vet guys who are going to be like, well, we got to get time over the kid. Like I'm not gonna lose touches to the kid,
right?
So that puts him down, and at least D-Hop and Ridley are gonna feel that way. Oh, and by the way, you also have the issue of, well, D-Hop is still D-Hop. Is he gonna want the most targets? Because if he wants the most targets and he's that over the middle 8 to 12 yard guy, when your strength is a cannon down the field. And your strength isn't necessarily pinpoint accuracy and timing, and your best weapon is going to be all about accuracy and timing and not letting you use your arm cannon. I don't know. I think it's not going to go the way they want it to go, Mo.
I'm going to say something bold, and it's not to upset Titans fans, but I think that the receiving core that they start the year with won't be the receiving core they finish the year with.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Good show on a Thursday. Close us out, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content that we have for you at the Wire to Wire Network. We are growing. We appreciate your subs, follow, support. Wire to Wire Network. Check us out.
Make sure you're back same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to break down what happened in the NBA Finals. We're going to talk a little bit about receiving cores, more about receiving cores in the NFL. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's